Hey, what's up? This is Daigle from MetalsPeak.com, and I am checking out Heaven Sent Hellbound from Indestructible Noise Command. First thing, I just got to get this out of the way. Most people, when they first hear this, they're probably going to hear a similarity to Pantera. Now, I want to encourage everybody to do your homework on Indestructible Noise Command. Their story is very, very interesting. It actually goes back to the late 80s, and you might be surprised to find out what bands were actually opening for them back then. Actually, what you should do is check out the latest episode of MetalsPeak. We interviewed Eric Brath, one of the guitarists, and he kind of went over everything, so go check that out. Okay, as far as the album goes, for Brutality, I'm giving this thing an 8 out of 10 for Brutality. These days, the bar for what is brutal is pretty high, and this band has more of a groove thrash thing going on, and they do it very well. But I guess I just don't get that urge that pushes me over the edge and makes me feel like I need to break everything in my vicinity. Now, having said that, I need to play this part real quick from God Loves Violence. It's probably the peak of Brutality. It just really opens up and slams you in the face, and it's just great. What's awesome about it is it follows a track that has a super solid groove, a track called Fista Fascista. Very solid groove, you're really, really into it. And then this thing opens up and just blows it out of the water. So it's great contrast and really comes across awesome. Now songwriting, I'm giving a 10 out of 10 for songwriting here. I think it's where the album shines most in the riff writing, the guitar solos, the vocal hooks, all very, very catchy. It's definitely my favorite part of the whole album. There's some great tie-ins. There's this intro that has a sort of strange, almost silly melody going on, but then they work it into the guitar solo of the following track. Turns out awesome. You know what I think it is the intro riffs. Most of the tracks start with a tremendously catchy riff, and it just stays with you for the rest of the day. Swallowed comes to mind. Awesome intro riff. Just all kinds of catchy, and even in that track there's this really great symphonic thing going on towards the middle that really brings it down, and then the band kind of picks it up and it builds back up, and it's just wonderful. Let me actually play a couple more real quick intros from some of these other tracks that really stand out. Full Metal Jacket. Yeah, just awesome. Okay, this one is Rain. Oh, just catchy, just awesome. And but my favorite, I think it's this one. It's from the track that's titled "It's Coming," and just listen to this riff here. Just awesome. Okay. So yeah, overall the album it does have a distinct old school feel in the song structures and the writing, the guitars, the vocal hooks, but I think it's really where it shines. So 10 out of 10. Now production, same thing, 10 out of 10. It sounds amazing. What's interesting to me is that Eric, who we talked to, actually lives in Greece, and everybody else is here stateside, and so the whole thing really was written over the internet, video chats and stuff. And I know the technology's been around for several years now, but it's just so interesting to me that this is a band that started in the late 80s. They never would have dreamed that they could have written an album with some of the members halfway across the world. So it's just something that really kind of strikes me, and it turned out wonderful. The guitar tones are very crisp, very upfront. The drums sound awesome. It's all around just excellent sounding metal. Okay, now repeat listenability. I'm actually giving it an 8 out of 10. I will say that anybody who's felt the void since Pantera broke up, and then certainly since Dimebag Darrell's untimely death, they will certainly find hours and hours of repeated enjoyment in this album. However, if you kind of crave more of the techie stuff that's coming out these days, you're not really going to find it in this album. But still, I think that there's plenty of variety in the grooves. You could hear in just the little bits that I played so far, they're certainly not rehashing the same riff over and over. There's lots of unique stuff happening. So I think you can listen to it several times before it gets boring. Okay, now artwork. Again, 10 out of 10, just awesome. This is exactly why you want to go buy physical albums anymore. The concept here, it's very militaristic. There's lots of tanks, machine guns, bombs, but there's megaphones attached to everything. And it's the kind of concept that seems so obvious, but I don't feel like I've seen it before. And it's done so well here. Even in the pics of all the band members, it's everything just comes together so brilliantly. And all I gotta say is go buy this album and check it out. It's awesome. So overall, this thing gets 9.2 out of 10 from me. Anytime something reminds me of Pantera, it's a good thing. Pantera was the band, like most people, Pantera was the kind of the gateway to metal for me. They really sort of saved me from the grunge alternative thing that I was into in the 90s. And I'll always remember those first couple years of getting into Pantera, and listening to this album totally brought me back to that. And I just love the groove thing, and they do it so well. I'll definitely be following the progress of Indestructible Noise Command, really hoping they tour through Colorado, because this is exactly the kind of metal that you want to see live. It's very high energy, very catchy, very pit friendly.